Welcome to the next episode of Perspectives with Jeremiah Stephenson, and I'm your host, Jeremiah Stephenson. As always, I say, let's jump right on to it. And today's guest is Jason MacDonald, the CEO of Drama Inc., actor, philanthropist, wonderful human being all around. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah. We've been trying to schedule this for a little bit.
I know, it's been crazy, right?
And no, it's totally cool because I had another guest, I think 2 months ago. We were trying to get something together, and I usually ask people about a week in advance. Oh. And so he was like, give me a month in advance. So he was a comedian, and he was like, I'm doing all this stuff. And so we missed the first time, and then I was like, let's try and do it again this time. And we missed that time. So I was like, I'm just going to come back to you when you're not as busy.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Well, I'm glad it worked out. I'm here now. Yeah,
absolutely.
It's a beautiful fall night. And,
I'm actually really happy that the weather is finally feeling like fall.
It seems so trite to talk about the weather, but it has been brutal.
It has
been awful.
Too hot.
Yeah.
And I'm really ready for it to stop.
Yeah.
I cannot wait for winter, but fall is such a nice...
It's gorgeous right now.
Happiness and just breeziness.
Yeah.
Being able to do anything.
I just bought some pumpkins on my way over here that I'm going to surprise my wife with when I get home.
Are you going to carve them or are you going to do anything with them?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. She likes them for decoration on the front porch. So,
very nice. Yeah. Do you ever do the cinnamon sticks and like wave them around the house? You can usually get them at like, I think Publix or Kroger or something like that. But we used to do as a family, we would go and just like wave cinnamon sticks around the house.
That's
and it has this nice smell of fall.
Oh.
Cinnamon sticks and just clear skies is what fall is.
We got that corn, I guess they call it Indian corn.
Yes.
And we hung it on the door one year, and the squirrels like just it was gone. Like in 2 days, they ate it all.
Well, for Christmas, we would get live trees, and afterwards, we had a preserve right in our backyard. So after Christmas, we put it on our back porch. We'd put garland up with popcorn and just random things, and we'd watch birds come and create homes for it.
Oh, so cool.
It was really nice.
Wow,
Instead of just like throwing it away, we'd just let nature have it. Then at some point we throw it away.
Right. You have to. Yeah.
Jason?
Yes.
Our first question, as always, is who are you and what is your story?
Oh, man. Who am I? I'm a little boy from Canada who had a big dream to be an actor. I saw a production of Wizard of Oz on stage when I was 8 or 9, and it profoundly changed my life. In the end, when the farmhands are there, I noticed one of the farmhands had a little touch of silver makeup on his side of his face, and I made the connection that he actually played the Tin Man as well. And it was like a light bulb moment for me, and I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah,
I want to play. And it was a tumultuous time in my personal life as a child. My parents were separated, and we were. My dad and my brother were in Canada. My mom and I were in San Diego. It was, and then we ended up going back to Canada, and my parents reconciled. Thank God, they're still together 50 some odd years
really
later.
Cool.
But it was at that time in my life when I was very vulnerable and scared, and I saw this play, and I was like, that could be my thing, and the theater became my safe zone. You know.
Yeah.
So my mom enrolled me in classes. We had one professional equity theater in our town, and she got me in classes there, and the rest is history. So, actor, vagabond, moved to New York when I was 18, lived there for 6 years, moved to LA for 6 years, moved back to New York for 10 more years, moved down to Atlanta, and I've been here 12 years.
Oh, wow.
Nice. So, the actor's journey, we go wherever the work is.
Yeah.
As a side gig, I've been in restaurants for years.
Ooh, we can talk about that.
Yeah. Done everything from busboy to server to maitre d' to bar manager, bartender. I got my wine captain certificate in New York, and I was the wine captain at a fancy restaurant.
What does a wine captain do?
It's like a sommelier. You know everything about wine, and you go to the tables and talk about the wine, and you try to sell the really expensive bottles.
Nice.
And you
the wine.
You decant them, and it's all very fancy.
Yeah.
Then moved down to Atlanta and actually started working at a restaurant here and became a partner, became an owner. So for 7 years, I owned a restaurant in Atlanta, co-owned, and was still acting at the same time. But I've been out of the restaurant business now for 6.5 years. I'm very, very happy. People have approached me and wanted to see if I'd be interested in going in on a restaurant. I'm like, no, I think that chapter of my life is done. Yeah. Dealing with the public can be amazing, and it can also be soul crushing at times. People can in the public service. When you're in the service industry, you see the best and the worst.
Yeah, I always told people growing up. I mean, I'm still young, but growing up, and I always tell people the first job any teenager should have, I feel, is learn how to lifeguard, because you're learning how to deal with people's lives. Like, you have life or death in your hands.
Yeah,
it's a very huge thing to put on a young person, but I still think that it builds a lot of character and a lot of responsibility, and it shows you kind of the life, like you are in control of this person living or dying in that situation if that were to happen. And how to be prepared for such things. And then go into the service industry. That way you learn how to deal with people from all steps and all walks of life, and how to interact with different attitudes, be it aggressively terrible or wonderfully phenomenal.
Yeah.
You get to see in one day, you have so many different perspectives of people's lives. Yeah. And I think that's invaluable. I think it's an invaluable aspect, and it's an invaluable skill set to have.
Yeah, and the restaurant business does draw in a certain transient type a lot of the times, and definitely saw some sides of addiction, and actually had a cook who worked with me at the restaurant I owned. He had shot up on his shift, and he started nodding off while making sandwiches. And I had to pick him up off the floor. Same guy, I had bailed him out of jail about 2 months before that. And chose to believe that what he told me, that he wasn't really buying drugs in the Taco Bell parking lot, but he was.
Taco Bell.
So, it's interesting. I mean, who knew that the restaurant industry would teach me so many lessons, and but some amazing people. Actor. Restaurants were a part of my life. I'm a big dog rescue person, along with my wife, Catherine Dyer. We're involved with Lifeline Animal Project, and Catherine and I are I'm going to put air quotes here, celebrity host of Atlanta Lab Rescue's annual benefit. And this year we raised $30,000 at the
amazing.
benefit. So Atlanta Lab Rescue, they don't just save labs, but mostly big dogs. And our dog Bo they saved him from on his euthanasia date. They pulled him from an animal shelter here outside of Atlanta.
How long have you had Bo?
3. It'll be 3 years in February. So,
okay.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So animals, and then Drama Inc. We started this business with my wife and Claire Bronson and Scott Poitras, and it's remarkable how you have an idea for something. And I had the idea for Drama Inc. for a long time. While I had the restaurant, I had it on paper. I had a business plan. And I had the logo for 4 years before we opened. I knew I wanted to do this. It was just finding the timing. And I was trying to buy my partner out of the restaurant. And what I wanted to do was buy her out, set up a team to run the restaurant, and then I was going to open Drama Inc. But my partner was an unpredictable person. That's the nicest thing I can say. And she reneged on the deal to have me buy her out. And so I said, well, then I'm leaving. And my shares were pretty much worthless for reasons I won't go into. I got out with the shirt on my back, and that was it. After 7 years, and I had approached several friends about investing in the restaurant. So when I was buying my partner out, and I came back to those 5 people, and said, "Okay, here's the deal. I don't need X amount of dollars anymore. I only need 10% of that, because we're doing a different business." And they were like, "Acting studio, okay."
I just saved you 15% or more in car insurance.
Exactly. And interestingly, I don't know, this is a weird side note. All 5 of our investors are gay women at Drama Inc., and it wasn't by design. It was just the people I approached, and our friends happened to be 2 married couples, and then a single friend. And we made this. We didn't think about it until a while later. We were like, wait a minute, all of our money came from gay women. We're so progressive. They've all been paid back since, by the way. So Drama Inc., it's been a dream come true. I mean, you think about, we started in this 1,000 square foot space, and the idea was just to do some classes and do audition tapings. And it was just the four of us teaching at the beginning, and that was it. And we were teaching and we were doing the tapings, and that was it for the first year. And then we brought on Alex Collins, and we brought on Dave Pileggi in the beginning, and then Jerry Tubbs, and then Aaron Burns, and now we have 28 people who have keys to our studio. I sent an email out yesterday, a company-wide email. It's like, oh my gosh, there's so many people on this list. You know, between teachers, tapers, and then we have 8 interns as well. Okay, so very nice. It's amazing. It's an amazing family. And when I imagined the business before we opened it, I had all positive thoughts and good thoughts, and we'll be doing classes, but I didn't foresee the bonds and the family that would come out of it. The people who have become best of friends, the people who are roommates now, the people who have hooked up, the people who we have one potential marriage coming up.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's kind of exciting, and the creative side of it. The people who have created content, who are doing web series, and they're doing short films, and they're working together because they met at Drama Inc. Yeah, and I just freaking love that.
That's awesome.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So I want to piggyback off of family.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about your childhood, if that's cool.
Yeah.
As a kid, your parents being separated, what was that like for you? Was that knowing that they got back together now, what do you kind of see retrospectively as a child? How did that affect you before they got back together?
I've always been incredibly close to my mother, and I adore both my parents. And so we had I was born in Canada. We lived there, and my mom's brother had a business in San Diego, and he'd wanted my dad to go into business with him. So we had applied for our green cards, and we were waiting for them to come through, and then they came through. It took a year or whatever. I remember as a kid, like going into like big Toronto, like the big city, and going to this office at the U.S. Embassy and getting my, things stamped, and it was like so exciting. I'm official. And then we packed up and we drove to San Diego. We left Canada and said goodbye to everyone, and it was bizarre. And then we got out there, and my uncle was under indictment.
Oh, wow.
And that's more than a podcast. That is another book full. My favorite uncle was a bit of a grifter, some phony investment schemes and stuff, but just a great guy to me. So anyway, so we got out there, and my dad's money he'd been sending him for a year was gone. And so after about 2 months, my dad said, I'm going back to Canada. I'm done. And my older brother, 3 years older, Malcolm, he has cerebral palsy. And my dad said, well, I'm taking Malcolm with me because of healthcare in Canada and all of that. Yeah. And so they left. And interestingly, at my age now, trying to I have no recollection. I was 8 or 9, like I said, and I don't remember the day they left. Like I don't remember a big dramatic hug and driving away. I don't remember any of that. I do remember when my mom and I finally drove back to Canada.
Okay. What was that like? What was that experience?
We were with my uncle and his wife, my aunt, and he was basically running from the law. And we were in a silver Cadillac Fleetwood towing an Airstream trailer across the country. And back in those days, you would go to a hotel and use a credit card, and they would call for approval number, right? It was before they had all the swipey things.
Yeah.
And we were at a hotel, and the person behind the desk said, I'm sorry, Mr. Watson, I've been instructed to take your credit card away.
Ooh.
And I've talked to my mother about it since, and she said that happened more than once along the trip. Oh, wow. He had several credit cards, and she said by the time we got to Columbus, Ohio, he was out of credit cards.
Oh, wow.
And then we drove over the border in Detroit, and we ended up back in my hometown, which is halfway between Detroit and Toronto. And there I was. My dad had rented an apartment on the same street where we had lived before. Oh. So it was just bizarre. It was like coming back. And I didn't want to go back. I loved San Diego. I loved California. I had always had a fascination with, and you can only understand this if you're from another country, but I always had a fascination with the United States. I was just like, America, wow, it's so cool.
Yeah.
So I always knew I'd end up back here. But yeah, so we moved back, and things weren't great with my parents, and my brother is an incredible human being, but I think for my parents raising a handicapped child at a time when there weren't a lot of resources, right? We're talking the 70s.
Yeah.
I always said to my mom, you should write a book because you were a pioneer.
Mm-hmm.
He was in a place or elementary school called the Crippled Children's Center. Wow. That's what it was called.
Oh, wow.
Like,
that's
so un-PC, right?
Yeah.
And he was there for kindergarten and first grade, and then my mom said, no, he's going to regular school because he's brilliant. He's brilliant mind. He just can't. It's just the physical part. Mm-hmm. So he ended up going to elementary school and winning all the awards and going to high school and being on student council every year. I mean, just a great human being.
He was able to flourish. That's
yeah,
awesome.
And he went to college. He's the only one of us that went to college.
Cool. What did he study?
He got his degree in an honors degree in English Lit.
Oh,
so
wow.
he's
Nice.
He's very well read. He's a writer.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, things with my parents they were up and down for a long time. Like there was always tension in the house, and we didn't have money. I think that's one of those things people always assume. People assume things about me, particularly, like, oh, well, he's probably had it easy all his life. And it's like, actually,
it's not it's not a Hot Wheels track.
I mean, we were never hungry, right? I mean, we had clothes, but as a kid, they were always secondhand. It's funny because Catherine jokes now because I won't go into Value Village, and I'm like, I spent my childhood in Value Village, right? Like picking my clothes.
Yeah.
So not so much as an adult.
Yeah.
But always a strong bond. Like my parents were very progressive, very liberal. And I grew up in a country that is known for being a little bit more progressive and a little bit more liberal-minded for the most part. I mean, yeah, there's right-wing wackos everywhere, but I think it really served me well. And so that when I moved to New York at 18, there wasn't really a culture shock, even though it was amazingly different from where I was from.
Right.
I'd grown up with, a pretty diverse. I mean, if you know the Toronto area, it's a pretty diverse city.
Is there a lot of French-speaking Canadians around Toronto?
No, not French. No.
Okay.
A lot of people from Haiti, Jamaica.
Oh, wow.
A lot of people from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Trinidad. Yeah.
So you had a mix exposure to a lot of different cultures.
I mean, it's still
to an extent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like I did. I felt like it's interesting though because when I moved to New York City, I don't think I'd ever met someone from a Latin country.
Ah.
Right. I was like, oh,
this is new.
So tell me, Puerto Rico is where? What? Like, a little education on that. But,
yeah.
And then I started working in restaurants with guys from Dominican Republic, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Guatemala. It was like a real mix.
Yeah. So your parents getting back together, because when we connect this back to Drama Inc., what was that like? How old were you when they got back together? What was that whole little situation?
Interesting. Okay, so most people won't know this, but in the 70s, there was a guy named Tony Orlando and Don were his two backup singers. Tony Orlando and Don. He was had a huge hit in the 70s called Tie a Yellow Ribbon, right? And the lyrics went, tie a yellow ribbon around the old oak tree if you still want me. It was like a signal to a lover that I'm still interested. I tie a yellow ribbon. Right. So my mom and I roll back. We've driven from San Diego to just outside of Toronto, right? So that's 3,000 miles in this Cadillac. And we pull up in our street and it's winter. And there's yellow ribbons tied around all three of the trees.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I remember that just as a kid going, wow, my dad's really kind of romantic.
Oh my gosh. That's
right?
really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Gosh, I haven't told that story ever.
That's so cool.
I think at 9, I was like, okay, all right, they're going to work it out. And, they've had their ups and downs as we all have. I mean, I've been married longer than you've been alive, probably. Yeah. So, yes, for those that don't know me on the podcast, I'm 88 years old.
That's really sweet. The reason why I wanted to go back to that, and whenever you said that they did end up rekindling everything, and being able to watch them sort out their issues and their kind of grievances and differences, how did that affect your marriage when you got old enough to become A man with a wife and a wife with a man. I love talking to people about when they were younger, watching their parents, and then being an adult now, and especially if they've kind of followed in the same steps in different ways. How did you see your parents' relationship affect your current relationship?
That's an amazing question. I think I'm following the path of my parents as far as longevity. I've been married for 28 and a half years.
Congratulations.
I know, crazy, right? Yeah, Catherine and I met in October of 1988 in New York City. And we moved in together in February of 1990 in New York. And we got married in May of 91. So, yeah, nice. It's been a long time. I think what I saw with my parents, and I see it especially now that they're older, and I'm very, very thank God that they're 82 and they're, still living independently. And I'm thankful every day for that. And I pray for them. I pray for that to continue.
Yeah.
They're the best of friends. Mm. And I can say that about my relationship with Catherine. She is my absolute best pal. Like anything that happens good, she's the first person I want to tell. Anything that happens that hurts my heart, she's the first person I want to tell. Because I know she'll be there, to comfort. And that's an amazing feeling. And it's not to say that our marriage is perfect.
Right, absolutely.
Mean, we've had, in 28 years, ups and downs, and we've almost thrown in the towel a few times. I mean, that just happens.
Yeah.
But I think I don't want to be holier than thou. But I think I see a lot of people give up on their marriage too soon, and they don't. And you have to tough out the really hard stuff, and you have to fight it out and work it out. I don't mean fight it out, but you have to fight through it.
Yes.
And work it out and find common ground. And sometimes you got to back off and give and not always have to be right. So
yeah.
And that's hard for me. Ask my business partners.
Oh yeah, I know that.
So yeah, I think just having someone in your life who you love, but who is just your closest confidant. It's amazing. And, I know married couples who have separate finances and have separate people that they go to as like their go-to people. And I'm like, okay, I mean, as long as it works for you, but for me, I can't imagine running to anyone else but Catherine with news.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anytime anyone of us books something or something exciting happens or the dogs do something silly, it's like,
let's share this together.
Exactly.
The life that you get to share together.
And, I posted a photo this morning on Instagram. I'm kind of big on celebrating our history. And I posted a photo this morning from 1990 of us together with a dog that we had in New York at the time. I did see that. Then I posted one from last year with our current dog, Bo. And it's like, it's kind of amazing. And I look at that photo of us when I was 21 and it's like, wow, we have a history, and that's exciting. It's I'm proud of it.
Yeah,
I'm really proud of it.
One of the things I've been doing recently, and this is just a little tangent off of history, is I've been going back and collecting all my family photos. I've been trying to remember what specific songs. I've been doing this thing where it's like Jeremiah's life soundtrack, and I'll go through, let's say 2016, my mom passed away. So I've been able to I remember listening to this song and this song a lot because I love music and I've been I love music and I've been trying to compile what I listen to so that when I have kids at some point or just friends who want to listen, I'll be like, oh, this is kind of like where I was at sonically. And you can kind of hear this overarching story. So I'll take 2 songs a month and then keep adding it. So I'll have 48 songs in a year. And I'm like, this is 2018's Jeremiah soundtrack. And so I'm doing that again because I just started dating my girlfriend, Leah, we started dating in April. We met in February. We just celebrated our 6-month anniversary this past Sunday. And that was really nice. And she introduced me into a whole new world of music that I'd never listened to. So now that I have time to kind of sit down, because I'm a uber busy person, I've been able to kind of note I've been listening to this song for the last 6 months with her, but I remember this is the first time I heard it. And then she started playing this song way more. And then this song never really affected me until 2 weeks ago. And I'm like, oh wow, this is crazy. So I think that being able to look back into your past, and I think that allows you to continue to grow. Because if you're just kind of in the moment and you're consistently and always like, I got to do what's next. What's the next big thing? What's the next big thing? Yeah. You don't get to take time to appreciate where you have come from.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's a lot of people that just kind of like, I'm busy. I'm doing things. Right. And that someone is me sometimes.
Sure.
But being able to step back and you're kind of like, okay, I don't need to fret too much because I see where I've come from. And I see the things that I've done, and I've done a lot. Yeah. And I tend to forget a lot of the stuff that I've done. And I think it's really, really empowering to be able to look into yourself and see, hey, this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like I can keep going from here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And music is, we have amazing connections to music, you know? It's funny because we talk about it in our acting because Catherine uses music a lot in her acting.
Really?
You know, when she has to do an emotional scene, she has certain songs that are triggers for her that have to do with both of her parents have passed and connections to them. And she can get to an emotional place pretty darn quickly with music. I do playlists. Every time I'm in Los Angeles, I do a playlist. So I have my LA 2017 mix, my 2018 summer mix, my 2018 winter mix. And it just takes me to specific moments, great moments. So I get it with music.
Finishing up family.
Yeah.
When did you kind of realize Drama Inc. was a family for you? When did it turn from business to family?
Well, Claire and Scott, our business partners, you know, we were friends with them first, and we founded this informally what we call the Porch Winos Club, because they have a screened-in porch and we have a screened-in porch, and we live about a mile from each other.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
We would meet, we're like, where are we having wine tonight? And that's where, you know, we became friends with them, and then I told them about Drama Inc., and they were doing self-taping. They were one of the first people to offer self-taping in this market to actors. They were doing it out of their home, and they were doing real editing before anyone else. Oh, wow. And so they were like, well, we could add this to the business, and we've taught acting, and so it was like a no-brainer. It was like, yeah, we'll be better with four of us. Yeah. And four actors who I think are, you know, the four of us have pretty strong resumes and have been in this market for a while, and people know us, so we were very powerful together, joining together. They were family already, and then just more and more. And I want to just go back for a second what you were saying about looking at your past, because it is right. What you said is absolutely so true as far as people just thinking about what's next, like looking up that letter, next rung. And then there are people who live too much in the past, right? They're just like, oh God, it was so much better when I was in college. And you need to find that happy medium, which is living in the present, which is so hard for humans, period. Very right?
So.
I mean,
very much
what's the famous line from Our Town? She said, does anyone ever really know life when they're living it or something? I'm sorry, for Wilder fans, I'm murdering the quote. But, that trying to be in the present, because I worry about things in the future, right? I worry about my parents. I worry about my brother. But I can't. There's nothing right now that I can do that's going to affect that. Yeah. You know, they're safe, they're warm, they're they have everything they need, and just loving them and communicating with them. I talk to them almost daily. Yeah. My mom and dad.
That's awesome.
And for me, to look at where I came from, and I said at the beginning, this little Canadian boy, I didn't go to college. A lot of people don't know that. People never assume that about me. I am a voracious reader. I've I'm not dumb. No, I mean I'm a pretty sharp guy, and I read a lot, and I've covered a lot, and I had a hang up for a long time about not going to college. I had an education hang up. My first girlfriend in New York had just graduated from Brown University, Ivy League school, and I went to a party with her. Her brother had gone to Harvard, and some girl came up to me. She's like, "So, did you go to Harvard with all these guys?" And I was like, "No,
I'm just here.
I'm just the hick from Canada." So I had a hang up and then I had a girlfriend in New York who went to Middlebury college in Vermont, and she gave me her freshman year reading list.
Oh, wow.
She said, read all these books.
Oh, wow.
And I did.
Yeah.
I was, D.H. Lawrence and Fitzgerald and Hemingway and on and on and on and on. And so that sort of, I was like, well, okay, I just finished first year of college.
Yeah. I didn't go to college either.
Oh.
I was homeschooled all the way through. And then I applied to 3 schools. 2 accepted me, but I didn't have the money. I was going to do the scholarships for it and everything. And then I was like, I knew film was what I wanted to do. And I was on set for one of Ben Affleck's movies. And I was just an extra. And I was just watching all the production assistants, the lighters, the grips. Like, I was just watching everybody. And I just started talking to people. And then one of the guys, I was talking to him. And I was like, well, I was going to go to this school and this school. And he's like, don't do that. If you're going to do film, and at the time I was like, I want to be behind the camera. He was like, you don't need to necessarily do that.
Right.
Like, here's my information. Just keep talking to people and then just go from there. And so that's kind of how I ended up in Atlanta, is just following what I'd always been doing, because I'd been doing little film things since I was like 13. And then within the small town, there's like a little production company that I used to help out with all the time.
Okay.
So I was able to... And I was always teaching myself, because my last year of high school, I didn't do anything schoolwork-wise. I was teaching myself how to do 3D editing and editing in Premiere and doing all these, just whatever was like, I want to make this today. I was like, let's figure out how to do it. So, like, I definitely get that. And my girlfriend, she just graduated. Yeah. She graduated Oglethorpe University. And so, and I was...
In performance?
In marketing. Politics with a minor in marketing.
Smart girl.
Yeah. So she was like, oh, yeah, this is cool. And she just got her first big girl job. She's been saying that for the last month. Awesome. And that just recently kind of became a thing, because she was kind of scared. She's like, are you going to keep like progressing and doing things? I was like, this is my past. Like, this is everything I've done. I'm never going to stop. I can't do that. Yeah. If I don't continue to grow, I'm just going to not be a person. Yeah. It's just, I can't do that. And so that was one of her fears. So we were able to sit down and talk about, like, what are your plans? How are you going to achieve whatever you think is next? And there's like a lot of stuff I have bubbling up in different little corners, but like this podcast for me this year is to show that I can do something on my own for myself and complete it over a period of time. And so it's not just, this is the podcast that I do. It's like, prove to myself that I can do something and create something on a bigger scale, and I can follow through. Yeah. And so, like, that's what this is for me. I'm like, it's not 4 years, but I mean, I'm the one that's having to reach out to people. I'm the one that's having to edit everything and figure out how to do it. And I don't know if I would have done that in college, but I'm able to prove, like, not necessarily prove, because I don't feel like I have to prove anything to anybody, but I'm able to show a resume of, hey, I am a worker. Sure. Like, I will do what I have to do to get things done. Yeah. And I don't know... I don't want to diss higher education, but when an actor tells me they're applying to an MFA program, I'm like, why? Mm-hmm. Why not just get out there and try and do some work? Yeah. And there's all kinds of valuable things that you learn. I mean, so I moved to New York City at 18 to go to Circle in the Square Theater School. I had applied to 4 theater schools: Circle in the Square, Neighborhood Playhouse, the National Theatre School of Canada in Montreal, and the Vancouver Playhouse. I got accepted at Vancouver and Circle in the Square. And my mom said, you're going to New York City. I was like, yes, I am. And they scrimped and saved and borrowed and got me there. And I got a job as soon as I worked at Banana Republic. Hey. When it was still like a safari clothing store. But, got out of theater school. It's a 2-year program. And we always, all 4 of us say this, the Drama Inc. owners, is we wish we'd had a Drama Inc. when we were coming up. Because I got out of theater school and got an agent right away and went on my first audition and didn't even know how to do a sign-in sheet. Like, didn't know how to sign in. They don't teach you any of that stuff. Oh, wow. I was like, this is crazy. Why? You didn't prepare us for... It's the simplest things. Right. It's the simplest things. But theater school was great. I'm glad I did it. It really helped launch me in New York at 21 years old. But yeah, I don't regret not going to college. I don't think I ever have. My hang-ups about not going to college were people's perception, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't that I thought, I missed this great experience, right? The 4-year experience. I never, because artists' paths are so different. Yeah. And I don't know. Well, I think it's creatives in general, because we have such a... I have this thing right up here, right under the picture of me and my girlfriend. I was in church I was 12 or 13, and I love space. Space has been just one of the things that I've always been drawn to. I was going to be a scientist when I was younger. Right above the little redhead kid, you'll see. Oh. So there's a space, and I was like, let's just draw like stars and things. But in the middle, Deepak Chopra, I believe, is the one that said, "We are all sparks of the divine." So then I was like, that's pretty cool, sparks of the divine, like if you believe in a higher power, so such things. But being a piece of that divineness that, let's say if we believe in like the creation of the universe in some way, like even the Big Bang, like it came from something, something had to happen. Like if you're a part of that, you have that creativity within you. The creativity that flows within this universe is us. So that happens in any way. It doesn't matter who you are. It looks different for some people, but it's like this creativity is always going to be a part of us. And even people that are very logical, there's creativity within them too.
Sure.
But the people that are like just fully creative all the time, I think it's wonderful because you get to see so many different looks of life and ideas and dreams. And it's just beautiful to see what can we create or build out of nothing or out of something. I think that's really, really cool, and I think that's a testament to creatives. That is just beautiful.
Yeah, that's the thing that I say whenever we do a production or a short film. I'm like, we just created something from nothing. We are people who came together with an idea, and we had follow through, which is important.
Yes,
and we made something, and I've been on the film festival circuit for the last year pretty solidly with 4 of our short films. And every festival I go to, I never get tired of sitting in the theater and hearing people's reaction to something that I wrote or something that I produced or created or directed. My film, Mr. Goody, it stars Randy Havens, I wrote and directed. And it's not an ego thing at all. It's just, I just love that I get to share this funny little story that I came up with.
Absolutely.
And, it was just, I just wanted to write something for Randy, and it turned out to be the execution of it turned out well. I had an amazing group of people that helped me with it. And it's just fun. It's amazing to put that out to the universe.
Yeah. Well, one of the things as I was growing up, because I used to always do editing and different things, I would just create something that was in my head, and I'd always show my mom. So when I lost my mom, I was in the process of creating. No, I did it as I think like a grief recovery type thing, just for myself. I took all the audio that I had from her. She called. This is a great story. She called me in November of 2015. I just gotten the like, hey, you're gonna be an extra on this movie, and she called me, and I picked up the phone. She was like, hey, hang up the phone, and I was like, okay. So she called me back and left me a 3-minute message. And so in that 3-minute message, she was like, hey, I love you. This is great. You're a wonderful person. Like, you have a plan and a path for you. You have a bright light. People are going to attach themselves to you. Some people are here for reasons. Some people are here for seasons. And she just goes on for 3 minutes. So when she passed, I was able to take that audio and some music that I enjoyed at the time, found instrumentals for it, underlaid that. When I graduated, somebody took video of it. So I took that and I underlaid that. When she passed, my dad actually called me, and I didn't get to answer the phone. So he left a message saying that she had passed away and everything. So it plays out where it's my mom for the first 3 minutes. Then I had like the tape recorder kind of edit or effects where it's like I said, tape stops. Then you hear my dad say she passed, and then it goes into her talking to me at my graduation. And then towards the end of her life, she was super, super into self-maintenance emotionally, because her father was alcoholic, and there was a lot of emotionally abusive people in her life growing up, and even her relationship with my dad. It was never bad, but there was a lot of anger in her heart towards her dad that she kind of brought towards my dad. And so she ended up going to Daughters of Alcoholics Anonymous. And one of the things they had her do was tell her life story. And so she wrote it all out. It was about 30 minutes, 30, 40, 45 minutes. And I recorded it whenever she told it to us before she went to actually present. Cool. And so I recorded that. So at the end, I have her kind of giving like the last little bit of her story.
Yeah.
So I finished that. and I always showed her everything that I did, and I wasn't able to do that. So I felt this kind of pain of like, I don't get to do that anymore. Sure. And so I think one of the things that helped push me to continue to create is to share it to everybody else. Because like the one person that I always showed it to is no longer here. But like I can give something to somebody else because they may be able to pull from it. They may be able to find some sort of happiness or some sort of just nuggets of truth or knowledge or happiness, or just be able to appreciate what they have. So I don't know. I love that, finding that point where like I need to be able to express or share these things that I do and create.
Yeah, and we put that stuff out to the world in so many different ways, and you never know who you're going to touch. I mean, it's the interesting thing about art and let's like theater and film and TV and their critics, right? I say to our students all the time, it's a business of opinions, right? Yeah. You know, some people love La La Land. I hated it. I mean, it's opinions, right? Yeah. It's just how our world works.
Yeah.
But if you never share it at all,
it just sits there.
It's just an idea. I mean, so it's interesting. I think the theme tonight is follow through.
Yeah.
Putting it out to the universe. You have to, as an artist. You're vulnerable. You have to be vulnerable. You have to be open, and you just have to go, here's my thing, whatever it is, stand-up comedy, you know, performance art, poetry, whatever. Just release it to the world, and you never know who is going to be affected by it,
and what can come from it,
You know, and I never make anything or try to produce anything with the idea of a result, right?
Right.
I think that's a sure path to failure.
But even, I mean, in the sense of like personally, like what can come from it, like because you can find a lot of self-healing from things. I had a friend who, he was going through a lot of stuff, and he and his band were in the process of recording an album, and he was able to put some lyrics into this thing that allowed him to grow from it. I have another friend who wrote a movie, and there's a lot of pain and turmoil with his relationship with his mother. And in his script, there's a character with his father, but there's an argument there that he and his mom actually had. But instead of actually keeping it to what really happened, he was like, well, how would I have wanted that conversation and that argument to end? So from there, he was able to write what he would have liked to happen. And then he and his mom were able to reconcile after like he shared that with her. So
that's cool.
Being able to create, I think, it's just a deeper place in our subconscious that allows us to go through ourselves and really find self-healing sometimes. Yeah. And growth.
I have a project that it's a short film that I wrote, and it's an artist's story. And I got to page 25, and I have a cast assembled. I've already cast it.
Awesome.
And we were going to shoot it as a short. And earlier this year, I emailed everyone and said, guys, we're not making this short. This is a feature film. So I'm finishing up the feature script now. Everyone's anxiously awaiting.
Awesome.
I keep writing more characters into it, which is a no-no. But it's, you know, and it's a story of a painter who is the most talented in his class at school. And it's 3 years after they've all graduated. And everyone's doing really well except for him, because he's the true artist and he's just passionate about his work. I based the character on Jean-Michel Basquiat. That kind of large, bold painting. When Jean-Michel came out in 84, 85, when he really hit the art scene in New York with Andy Warhol, he was so like new. So I based the character on that, and just the artist who does the work and follows his passion, and he's so prolific. He keeps painting and painting and painting, but he doesn't go schmooze. He doesn't go to the galleries. He doesn't go to the parties, and all his friends are trying to get him to go because his work is amazing. Anyway, it's I love this story, and I can't wait for us to tell it.
No, I'm excited.
Yeah.
What's something going on in Jason's head at the moment? What's something Jason wants to talk about?
I want to talk about aging. No,
you can't. We can talk about anything.
This
is a free-flowing conversation.
No, it's interesting. I will talk about age because I just turned 53.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a feat.
I mean, every day you put your feet on the floor is a good day.
Yeah.
But I don't get hung up on age. I never have. I'm surrounded by younger, a lot of 20-somethings. And I think it's just amazing to be around that kind of fresh, excited energy. We talked about Spencer Mumford a minute ago.
I was actually saying, yeah.
And I cast him. He was in our On Camera One class. And then when we were casting Bash last year, the play, I was just like, yeah, he's gonna. It's got to be him.
And Bash, I will tell everybody because we talked a little bit about Bash on Spencer's episode. But Bash was such a powerful, powerful play. It was such a powerful story. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then casting Alex and Spencer and everyone else is just wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And we had a hard time casting because Alex Collins was a producer and he brought me the play and said, I've been wanting to do this play for 15 years. And can we do it at Drama Inc.? And I said, yeah. And the day of auditions, after everyone left, we had like all the headshots down on the floor, and it was just like, oh my gosh, we've got a plethora. We've got we had so many great people to choose from. But I think we cast it perfectly.
Yeah, I would say that by far.
Elizabeth Houston was astounding in that role, and Emily Topper. So yeah, but being around people like that and being able to do creative things like that, and to I hadn't directed a play in years, and it was just so amazing. That was exactly a year ago. Just so great and sometimes doing things that you think, oh, this is a lot, and I'm kind of scared of this. If it scares you, you should do it.
Yeah.
My wife, Catherine, directed her first film this year, and our agent, Jason Lockhart, had written it, and he brought it to us and said, can you guys produce this? And I want Catherine to direct. And Catherine's like, I've never directed film before. And he's like, does it scare you? And she's like, yes. And he's like, then you do it. And she did, and she was amazing. And again, assembled a great team of creative team to help her through it. But she did great. And now she's like jonesing to do her next one. So it's... how do we get off on that? What's in Jason's head?
We're talking about aging and then
aging. Yeah, just being around creative people. I mean, I don't want to poo-poo or diss anyone, but I couldn't imagine for me a life in an office. I've never had a 9-to-5 job. I've never had a cubicle job. And some people that's where they thrive, and that's awesome. For me, it would be so confining and. I'm so excited. This is the thing. Drama Inc.'s been open 6.5 years. We never call it work. We never call it our job. We never say going to work. I always just say I'm going to the studio. I never don't want to go there.
Yeah.
On Camera One, we teach, it's a 6-week class. We taught 12 sessions of it last year. We just finished our 9th this year. I never get tired of it.
Nice.
Because I never get tired of people who are excited, who are sponges, who are creative, and it's just such a positive energy. And it's interesting because the people who aren't positive, the people who have negativity, they fall off. Because we've created an environment that is so uplifting and is there to help raise actors up, not beat them down.
Yeah.
So anyone who comes in with a negative or an attitude, they go instantly like, this isn't the place.
It's okay.
I don't feel like it. I'm gonna go somewhere else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm all about. In my head is always. I steal this quote from Pat Mitchell, who was the head of PBS, the first female CEO of PBS, and she was the head of CNN. She just wrote a book. I just saw it on her Instagram today. She has a new book out. She's a friend of a friend, wonderful woman. And she said in her TED Talk, she said, two kinds of people in life, fountains and drains. And you want to surround yourself with the fountains, right? Those people that are spewing and flowing.
And it just sounds like Drama Inc. is a place where, as a family, you all can fill each other up with creativity and positivity and growth and happiness and love. Yeah. And then that can transpire and grow into other people because, therefore, in fact, you've created a community of loving and creative people. And that just flows and it shows because everyone that I know that has even interacted with Drama Inc. and they've only said wonderful things. And it's been really nice to see just the people that have come through there. Because they look like they're fuller in life. Like they have a fuller appreciation for everything. And acting in general, like they can come at acting not just the, oh man, I got this thing I gotta do. I gotta shoot it tonight. Gotta edit. Oh my god! Like it's not a burden. Yeah, it's become something to enjoy.
No, it should not be a burden. And I tell students this too. If this is driving you insane, if you're pounding your head against the wall, if your career is keeping you up at night, you're crying, you're frustrated, you can take a break. It's okay. Catherine Dyer took 7 years off from acting. And Catherine is one of the biggest bookers in this market of the last decade. But the decade before that, it was terrible, and she stopped acting. So it's something that the balance has to be there, right?
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to be frustrating. It's always going to be. There's always going to be that side of it, right? The business side, which is tough.
And that's one of the things I was going to ask you is balance. How do you find balance in life?
It's interesting. So this will take us back to aging and health because I was a distance runner for 25 years.
Oh, wow.
And coached for the Atlanta Track Club here, 14 half marathons and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of 10Ks, 5Ks, and over 25 years. Yeah. And I had an injury 2 years ago, and I've been basically sidelined for 2 years. Wow. And it has affected me. Because running was my therapy. I never ran with music. I always just ran like with my head clear. I never took my phone. So I've been trying to find the balance through other exercise, but nothing has quite gotten me there. So it's been interesting. But exercise is important. Diet's important. Yeah. I tell you, the one thing that I just preach is surround yourself with great people. And if we're talking about the hard stuff in this business, the really difficult stuff, if you find your tribe, again, air quotes, if you find your tribe, your community, they can mitigate all that other stuff, right? It can be, we say to our students, get together, find a play and get together and have people over your apartment and do a play reading or do a script, grab a script, or go onto Actors Access and pull some sides off and give yourself a cold read and tape yourself. There are ways, because people are like, oh, class is so expensive. And it's like, there are ways to do it without spending money. Just be creative about your creativity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm going to put that on a bumper sticker.
Be creative about your creativity. You heard it here first.
But community, tribe, and that's one thing that we preach at Drama Inc. so much, and I stole it from Erica Arvald, the casting director, which is community, not competition. And I believe that with, like you look at Dave Pileggi, whom I love like a brother. He taught for us for a little bit the first year. He helped us set up our social media in the first year. And then he went off and did his thing. And then he and Wendy opened the Creative Movement, which I think is fantastic. Yes. And I was there, and he had me talk there. And I love that he invited me to come do a talk there. And
I will say that talk was, wow. That moved me. Just sitting there listening to you two,
I got choked up.
It was really good. It was really good. And it made me really happy to, not that I knew you, okay, let's talk about how amazing you are as a person. I work at Stillwell, and you came through a lot, but you invited me to your birthday. And I was like, I don't know Jason like that. Yeah. But I got there and you treated me like you had known me for forever. And it was such a nice experience. And that's where I actually first met Spencer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I was like, who's this random wild motherfucker? He's just being crazy. But I was like, I like this kid. And that's where I met Emily. And then I know I saw Alex there. And it's just that circle of people. Yeah. Even though I didn't know everybody, I met Israel there. It was really neat just to be around all these people that I didn't know, but I felt like I was included. Yeah. And you live including people in your life. And it's really nice. And I appreciate that. Being able to sit there and watch you and Dave talk about your relationship with each other and your business relationship, and knowing that I am... somehow I'm a part of that. Yeah. That was really, really cool. Yeah. And just to see that friendship and it was beautiful. It was really beautiful.
Thanks. And, I think I invited you because I'm big on people's energy, and I pick up on, I just want to be surrounded by great people. And I just knew that you just had a warmth and a genuineness about you that was so infectious. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to try my other, Catherine was in Los Angeles, so that was the only person missing. But birthday parties are tricky. I have some people have been very hurt that I didn't invite them.
Really?
Yeah,
it's like, I can cut this out if you need me to.
No. I did a small thing this year, and I know one of our interns was upset that she didn't get invited, and I was like, oh no. And that one that you came to last year, James Miller wasn't invited.
Oh, wow.
He had just kind of started getting in the Drama Inc. family, so he wasn't on the list.
I found that because I just did a big birthday thing for myself this year. I went to Dragon Con with a bunch of people. That was Saturday. Sunday I had a bunch of people playing video games, and then Monday was my birthday. Monday was Labor Day.
Yeah.
And so Monday it was just me, my girlfriend, and my 2 roommates, and we just hung out. And I knew there were people that I would have loved to have invited, but I knew there are space issues. Yeah. But at the same time, it was like, I know these people need to be around. And like I can just like have a wonderful evening with these people. And it would have been wonderful for those people too, but the excess energy to like make sure I'm like, I gotta think about all these things. It's just like, what do I need?
Right.
And like, how can I gain from this in a positive way? And not that like, everything you have to do has to gain from people, but like it was more so, I already do a lot. Let's not make this a task.
Yeah.
Let this be something I enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that has been in my brain lately is overcommitting. Right. I'm trying to
preaching to the choir.
And actually, someone asked me to come up and speak at a college in Andersonville, South Carolina next week. And they had like a small stipend, and I looked at how far away it was, and I was like, you know what? I would love to, but I can't take a day. And I said no, and that's hard for me. It's really hard for me. But on the other hand, I was like, that's good, because the end of October and November is going to be insane for me. So it's like, I need that time. So, but yeah, I mean, I mean, it's very, very flattering because I get asked to do a lot of panels and a lot of talks and a lot of, some podcasts, and it's flattering. And I hope that my story, and I think my story encourages people, because my story is a story of perseverance. And same, Catherine, our story is a story together of 2 people who were in New York City in our 20s. We moved to LA in the 90s and had very little success and worked in restaurants. Moved back to New York, I worked in restaurants. Catherine ended up working at A&E Television when she was out of acting for 7 years, and she started as assistant at A&E. She was a part-time assistant at Lifetime in Los Angeles in the late 90s and then when we moved to New York, she got a job at A&E assistant. Then she very quickly became a coordinator, and then she became a director, and then a manager of documentary programming. She was nominated for an Emmy in 2003. It was very exciting. That's
wonderful.
But not acting.
Right.
So it's a story of perseverance. Because if you look at Catherine in particular, her career didn't kick until she moved to Atlanta. If you look at her IMDb, and she's got, 68 credits or something, close to 70 credits, right? Wow. Acting credits. Yeah. And if you look down at the very bottom, she only had 3 acting credits prior to 2006 when we moved here. Okay. Right? So she only had 3 IMDb credits when we moved here. And now she has almost 70.
That's wild.
It started, her first thing was Army Wives. She booked 3 episodes, and then she booked The Blind Side, and then boom, it's just like one after another. And I'm so proud of her. I'm proud of her perseverance. I'm proud of, both of us. We stuck to it because it's what we wanted to do.
As a married couple, I love how you both encourage each other and tell everybody else about each other. And I think that's really cool.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that, because it drives Catherine crazy sometimes. And social media is this thing, right? It's like the balance between bragging and
it's very weird. It's a very weird.
And for us, right, we're promoting our brand at Drama Inc., right? Part of posting on our social media is keeping people interested in our studio, because we need new students, right, to stay afloat. Absolutely. But I pretty much, what I post is genuine. It's from the heart most of the time. And I'm proud of her. So if I post something about her, I'm like,
And that's one of the things is when I first moved up here, because back at home, I ended up meeting everybody in my whole small town. It was super small. I knew everybody. You could not go 5 minutes without me walking through Walmart and seeing like, oh, hey, it's Jeremiah. Hey, what's up? But I had a core group of people that were like, they were my family, because I have a lot of friends that I call my brothers, and then like all the girls I call my friends. But like the guys that were like my best friends, I call them my brothers. And the genuinity between everyone was so real. When I moved up here, I was like, I have to meet genuine people.
Yeah.
Like that is my condition of friendship. Like you need to be genuine. And I've been so blessed to find that in you and Dave and Spencer and these aren't people that I talk to all the time.
Right.
But we all have this level of understanding where it's just, I may not see you in a while. Like Blue, I had him on the last episode. We don't talk to each other every day or every week. But whenever we do pick everything back up, you're
right back there. Yeah.
Everything's amazing.
Well, and it's really you're cool. In an interesting position because you work in a successful casting office, so you're going to have people who want to be friends with you.
Yes, I have a lot of that too.
I'm sure you do, and I know it happens to everyone who's in casting here. You know, a lot of them are very accessible. My friend Jessica Fox, she's very accessible. Chase and Tara are accessible because they're on Twitter and you can, friend them on Facebook. And, I can only imagine because, so Erica Arvald rented space from us for the first 8 months of this year, and nice. I still get her mail. And Erica, by the way, I have something for you. Someone dropped off a gift for her.
Oh, wow.
And it was like chocolates or something. I have it for you, Erica. I was like, wow, yeah, this is like a bribe,
Yes,
this is
it is.
And Feldstein Paris did a casting at our place a few years ago, and someone that was auditioning brought it like a big gift basket for them because it was near Christmas, and Tara was just like, I don't know why. And it's nice to get gifts, but we can also see, from your perspective, it's like, okay, why this actor's kissing my ass?
Yeah,
right.
At this point, it's just like
so you have to have kind of a radar
discernment
for
discernment's been something I had to learn as a very young, because even though I was homeschooled all throughout high school, I had a bunch of friends that went to public school, and I was like, these are my people. And then like some of them start doing crazy stuff, and then some of them start like talking to me, and then there were some that were like always trying to be around me, and it's just like, all right, we're not doing anything, we're not growing together. Like what is this? So I definitely fairly quickly had to learn, like, I can be friends with everybody, but not everybody can be a part of my life.
Yeah.
And so that's a real thing that I had to learn. That's a real thing that I had to learn.
That's good.
Yeah.
And it's interesting for Claire and Scott and Catherine and myself, we get a lot of people who come through Drama Inc. and we're very warm and we're very friendly, but they're not necessarily, part of the, I don't know, inner circle sounds so cliquish.
But I know what you mean.
But
like,
people who work with us or interns. And then we get a lot of like, hey, would you mind if I could take you out for coffee and pick your brain about stuff? And it's like, it's just this fine line. And there are people that we really want to help, and there are people that we know that are financially strained, and we never ever publicize or talk about our scholarships at Drama Inc. We have a scholarship fund. We don't advertise it. We don't announce it. We give them out quietly. But we're very. I'm glad all four of us are of the same mind with that. If there's someone who's struggling, we're gonna help them. If someone who's taking class with us, someone we know, and they're like, I had someone in my advanced class say to me this week, she's like, I'm really tight this month. I was like, then don't worry, it's fine. Yeah, I'm not relying on your $95. It's right. Like, it's not gonna break me. So, and it's true. We have a very philanthropic mind. We, Catherine started something called DI Gives Back, which is Drama Inc. Gives Back. We're doing our fourth Habitat for Humanity at the end of this month.
Nice.
We've done 3 or 4 times with Atlanta Community Food Bank. We did, we've done a bunch of stuff, which is great. And again, not like to toot our horn, but
right.
but we have benefited from this business, and we want to find ways to give back to the community. We collect food every year for Lifeline Animal Project, cat and dog food. We've done that in the last 4 years. And I mean, we just got a massive amount last year. It's really great. So we just take that over to the shelter. And like I said, Catherine and I for Atlanta Lab Rescue. So, yeah, it's, it's part of, I think it's part of giving back. And I don't understand people who don't think that way.
Yeah. Give me everything. I can take it all. Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, it's just not how I'm wired. I mean, I've never been motivated by money, which is not a great thing. But...
No, I agree with that. Like, cause I'm like, I've got what I need. Yeah. But then I'm like, I should probably strive for a little bit more. But I'm like, but I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, I'm happy. I'm fine. I'm content with where I am.
There are people that are driven by the almighty dollar, and God bless them. If that's what brings them happiness, if that brings them joy, then great. But it's never been about money for me. Yeah. It's been about creating and sharing the passion with like-minded people.
Yeah.
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Jason?
Yes?
Now's the time of the podcast where we have our previous guest, who I usually never mention in the podcast, but if you, the listener, have been paying attention, I mentioned them. Our previous guest has asked you a question.
Okay.
For those of you who didn't hear who our previous guest was, you should probably go back to the last episode and listen to it, because it's pretty good.
All right.
Jason?
Yes?
Our question from our last guest is, what is your most embarrassing moment?
Most embarrassing moment?
Yes. I will say you're lucky, because usually we have very deep life pondering questions, and this is the first one in a long time. That's not crazy.
Oh, wow. Oh man, that's a tough one. What did I do that was really stupid? I've done a lot of really stupid things. Oh, yeah, it's funny. Okay, I don't know if this counts, but I was just telling the story to Catherine the other day. In 1995 or 96, I did a short film in LA called The Jacket.
Okay.
Oh. And I was telling Catherine the story because I was talking about how green an actor I was on film and film.
Yeah.
And I was playing a cop, LAPD, jump out of the car, pointing guns, gang members, all this stuff. And there was all this dust from when we rolled in, and it was like covering us. And I thought they're not going to use this take. So I stopped and I spiked the lens. I looked right into the camera.
Oh, wow.
And they cut. And the first AD just freaked out on me. He's like, don't you ever, ever, ever look in the camera. Don't you ever stop a take. We're resetting. Everyone back to one. Get that car back there. Don't ever. I was like, I'm so sorry. I thought, how could you see? There's like all this dust.
Right.
So I don't know. It was embarrassing because it was the woman who wrote it worked for Sony, and so Sony had loaned all the equipment. Like they had it was a big ass short film production.
Yeah.
And it was a really bad film, by the way. Interesting side note on that: the young lady who played my partner was dating the director. So he was powwowing with her a lot. Mm-hmm. And at one point, the first AD came over and he said, "Peter, that ball in the sky," he was pointing at the sun, "that ball in the sky, when it's gone, we're done. We can't shoot anymore." It was like,
let's get going.
Basically saying we're losing light.
Yes,
but he was absolutely. Like, "That ball in the sky." I was like, yeah, this guy's pretty wound up.
That's wonderful.
I guess it was embarrassing. It was an embarrassing actor story.
That's embarrassing. I would say it's embarrassing.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
All right, cool. Now is the time of the podcast where you get to ask our next guest a question.
Okay.
It can be anything. It can be funny, smart, thought-provoking.
It won't be any of those things. You want.
No. Yeah. You just can't ask them how their day has been.
How you doing? Seen any good movies? I'm going to say this to the person who's on the next podcast. What do you think that you can do to make the world a better place?
Nice. I love that.
Because I got to say, at the end of the day, and I've said this before to some classes, like, we may not change the world, but maybe we can nudge it a little bit in the right direction.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
whatever you think the right direction is. In this country right now, that's a loaded question.
I think I had a question similar to this, one of the first few episodes, and I thought about it, and I just started dating Leah at the time, and I was like, I wouldn't change the world. I would change the people around me. Not change them, but I would influence them to make change. Because if I can get you to understand the capability of amazingness that you have that you can share and impress onto someone else, they can impress that onto somebody else. Or 5 people. And then those 5 people can go on to impress these 20 people and then go on and go on. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
It just depends on how you look at it. It's the same thing, but like, yeah.
I mean, kindness, we need more of it in the world. We need more understanding. We need more compassion. And you know, we're not going to get political here, but it's disturbing to see how some people have become so rigid and isolationist and you know, you're not like me, so we don't like you.
Yeah.
And I thought that attitude had, you know,
gone away, like,
right?
It was not a thing.
Yeah. And apparently there are still people who hold on to that. And I think those people, it may be a generational thing, and a lot of it's fading away, hopefully. I mean, I look at TV and film and commercials, and I don't think it's perfect by any means, but it's gotten better as far as representing what this country looks like.
Yeah.
I think commercials have been better at it than anything else.
For sure.
You know, embracing diversity and embracing, you know, people from different walks of life and different cultures and different orientations. And I think that's just the way we're moving.
Yeah.
We're moving in that direction. In your generation, in the next 20 years, it's going to be the norm.
Yeah, for sure.
But for now, we're in this place where we're fighting the old guard, right?
Yeah,
the people who are like, no, you men can't marry men. You know, it's like...
Get out of here.
Yeah.
Like, but it's okay. We're happy.
So, you know, I think as America changes, the face of America changes, we become a more diverse nation. Hopefully, that's going to bring us together rather than set us apart.
Nice.
So.
Awesome. Jason, thank you so much for being on the podcast. This has been Perspectives with Jason MacDonald and Jeremiah Stephenson. You can find me on Instagram at ParkourGeek, ParkourG33K. You can also find me on YouTube at A Token Steak, ATOKN''STAKE. You can also find me on Facebook, but if I don't know you, I'm not going to fucking add you. Jason, what would you like to plug among yourself and other things?
Hey, Jason MacDonald, you can find me on Instagram, AtlantaJMac. And I'm on Facebook, and I might accept you if we have some mutual friends. I don't know. We'll see. I do have a fan page, but I haven't added anything to it in a
I was
year.
actually thinking about starting a fan page recently. I was like, I might do that. I don't think I will, because I won't put any effort into it. It's just like, you can't friend me, but like me.
Yeah, exactly. We are about to launch our Drama Inc. Films website. That's dramaincfilms.com. I was just looking at it before I came over here, so check that out because it's so cool. I'm so proud of it. And there's trailers for our film Mr. Goody and Stripped and Photobomb, and then there's full versions of our films Pinky Slip and Colorblind, which won the Audience Award at Atlanta Film Festival in 2018. And there's a full version of Ditched, which was a film I wrote that... has won some awards too. So dramaincfilms.com, much more to come from that. And yeah, just, you know, be good to each other, peeps.
And follow through. Yeah. The theme of the episode, follow through.
Yes.
Well, that has been all for Perspectives. Anything else you want to add?
Eat your vegetables.
Well, that is all for this episode of Perspectives. Be love, be life, be.